Well, good morning, everybody. This is Gene Bohensky with Link High Technologies. We also have Victor Liu, the president of Link High, on the presentation today. The title of the presentation is Cybersecurity Requirements Your Organization Needs to Meet Now, and specifically how to comply with the latest cyber insurance requirements. So before we get started with our content, just want to introduce you to Link High Technologies. We were founded in 1992. We're based here in Morris County, New Jersey. We have over 30 years experience providing IT and cybersecurity services to small and medium-sized businesses throughout the area and beyond. And our mission is to do far more than just deliver managed IT services. We're trusted business partners to our clients, helping them to achieve goals, evolve with technology, scale and grow to become more profitable while providing uncommonly great customer service. We ensure this level of customer service by applying our signature service standards to everything that we do. A little bit about our clients. We focus on growing companies and companies scaling from 50 to 400 computers, or when current IT provider is not able to meet the latest cybersecurity requirements, which we're going to be talking about. Our companies that lack the resources or the desire to do the IT work themselves. And we focus on manufacturers, distributors, service companies, all types of companies that have some complexity in their business or require to comply with strict security guidelines. So cybersecurity, as everyone knows, has become a real business risk, and that risk is growing continually. So it's increasing daily as ransomware and phishing attacks are not only more common, but more costly to mitigate. Gartner research shows that 88% of corporate boards regard cybersecurity as a business risk rather than solely a technical IT problem. And that's a big shift, because in the past, people thought of this as just an IT issue. This is really a fundamental business risk. Work culture improvement training that focuses exclusively on awareness. This kind of training is failing to facilitate secure behavior among employees across an organization. And mitigating risk is becoming a common corporate goal. With just some statistics, since the pandemic began, U.S. small and medium-sized businesses have reported 63% increase in phishing and social engineering attacks. 52% saw more cases of credential theft, and 50% reported an increase in account takeover attacks. And that isn't letting up. Those increases are continuing. But let's talk about some of the examples of cybersecurity risks that really hit home. And these are specifically our examples from clients. And this description kind of shows what the real possibilities are for your business. So one was a municipality that got hit with ransomware. They were able to shut down the police, fire, school, and municipal networks all at once. This also directly affected revenue, as they were not able to collect taxes and pay their municipal bills. There was also a huge amount of work that would be required to restore all the networks and computers. We're talking about hundreds and hundreds of computers, different departments all over this municipality. So it was the cyber insurance policy. Luckily, they had a cyber insurance policy. That policy stepped in, and the insurance company decided to pay the ransom. That was a lot faster to restore all the computers and network from backups. Actually, they found out that it would be really a huge amount of work to do that. Even if you do have backups, it was a tremendous amount of work, and time would be required to do that backup work. But instead, the insurance company handled the ransom negotiations. So the large disruption costs would have been much worse without the insurance.
Right. Also, the time frame was almost 3 weeks, right? So unfortunately, there's a process. Once you call insurance, you open declare a breach. They had to do forensics, restoration of the data, even though that the hackers provided the decryption keys. Depending on how much data they had, like especially on the servers, decrypting took days, right? And that was just the comparison between decrypting for days, restoration of backups would be, you know, an additional week or two, right? So that was the compromise that they did, but it's still, even with paying the ransom, they were down for almost 3 weeks.
That just goes to show you what trouble this can really cause an organization, right? So the next example is a corporation phishing attack. One of the company officers disabled the MFA, that's the multi-factor authorization, and clicked on a Microsoft update email while driving on his phone, allowing access to scammers to infiltrate the network and all the emails. So the emails were hacked and payroll accounts were changed to other banks undetected. So this is a really interesting example because, Victor, do you remember what the time was between the breach happened and when the actual account happened? They had to spend some time to collect the information, correct?
So it's about 3 weeks. So, you know, most hackers are very intelligent. What they do is once they breach your this was Office 365, they spent some time going through the partner's emails and looking for sensitive information. And once they found it, then they, you know, decide to make all these financial changes at once. And the lesson here, it's not here under lesson, but the main thing is no standard user should have administrative rights. Even I don't. So Victor at linkhigh.com is a standard user. And that doesn't mitigate all breaches or hacks. But if, you know, everyone's guilty of this, especially, you know, me. Now, if you're driving or you're in a rush, you click on something on your cell phone on a link and you have full Office 365 global admin or domain admin to your own network. You just provided a nice hole for a hacker to penetrate your network. So what we do, and this is standard policy, it's not what just Link High, but best practice is everyone's a standard user, including me. Certain individuals in our organization, our director of technical services, our remote support manager, have separate accounts. So that's what we recommend. I use a Victor_admin at linkhigh.com only if I need elevated privileges to install software or to delete something, right? So you really want to make sure that no one daily use account has any sort of administrative privilege. I think that is key takeaway. And we've been reviewing all our clients. It's amazing that certain clients were demanding through our help desk, oh, I want full privilege, so I don't have to call you guys on nights and weekends to install software. We no longer honor those requests. We would always create a separate account for you know, designated people at each organization, but no individual has administrative privilege anymore.
Yeah, not only that, what ends up happening is companies that they're already paying for all this service, they're already paying for the equipment, and they think they were protected. So that's the other thing, they were breached even though they thought they were protected. And the manager that didn't want to turn on his MFA, right, he was only the one of them that didn't want to have to deal with a multi-factor authorization. Right? It only takes one person to decide, I don't want to really play by these guidelines. And all of a sudden it opens the whole organization up to risk, right? And the other thing, I think everyone was surprised by the level of sophistication used by the hackers to infiltrate, how much time they spent looking through people's emails, finding information. They're really sophisticated. So you won't know something happens until weeks later, right? That's one of the challenges. So you have to be protected.
What we're also doing is really advocating more visibility, right? So, you know, breaches happen. I think the assumption now is everyone will be breached at a certain point in time. So it's really detection. I think the whole industry, especially in terms of cybersecurity, is moved to detection. So what we're recommending is more logging, more reporting, so we can detect if there's abnormal activity. So going back to the logs, we were able to find out there was a login from another continent over the weekend, 2 o'clock in the morning, from a partner. Well, verify with the partner. He certainly was not, on the other side of the planet, and certainly wouldn't log in 2 o'clock. So it's really, in terms of visibility, is important too, is in case there is any abnormal activity, detect it as soon as possible, and then you could take steps to remediate or block access.
Right. So let's talk about what we consider the 5 foundational cybersecurity essentials. These are things that really are foundational that every client should be implementing across the organization. The first one is a password policy. So the definition of a password policy is a set of rules designed to enhance computer security by making sure all users employ strong passwords, use them properly, and change them on a regular schedule. So you should develop an organization-wide password policy, train your employees to follow it, and make sure that they do. Right, whether it's every month is typically when you should be changing your password, and they have to have the sufficient strength so that they're not easily hacked.
Yeah, so we follow NIST, N-I-S-T. It's a quasi-government agency, so there is a standard NIST password policy that anyone could look up, or if you want, email Gene after, or myself after the presentation, and we'll send you the NIST policy.
So the next is multi-factor authorization. Multi-factor authorization, or MFA, it's an authentication method that requires the user to provide 2 or more verification factors to gain access. We're seeing this more and more, and a lot of people don't like it because it's annoying to use, but it's fundamental at providing security. So it enhances your security by requiring users to identify themselves by more than a username and password. And it's proven to work if everyone complies. So it must be implemented across your entire organization, including the owners or C-suite personnel, right? I mean, don't you find that, Victor, that a lot of people, especially the top people, don't want to do that, right?
It used to be common, it's less and less.
Less and less.
But we used to have C-level executives want everybody on MFA, but exempt themselves. Unfortunately, C-level probably has more sensitive information to lose than your standard knowledge worker, office worker. And we've actually made it a requirement for our clients. Everyone has to have MFA, and if they don't, they really can't be clients anymore.
Right. The next one is Secure Email Gateway. Secure Email Gateway is an email security solution that sits in line on emails and the email's path from the public internet to the corporate email server. It's designed to prevent unwanted emails such as spam, phishing attacks, malware, or fraudulent content, and deliver good email. So it's highly effective at dealing with dangerous emails and must be used for all company email accounts. This is very important. It helps mitigate bad emails getting to the user to actually click on, because they're getting harder and harder to find. They're getting more effective in making emails that look real, right? We find that all the time. People click on them. Everyone thinks that they're not gonna be clicking on them, but there's always going to be that one that is going to catch you, right, Victor?
Yes. Well, the secure email gateway is really rapidly becoming a requirement by most cyber insurance carriers, right? So MFA is mandatory. I had not seen one cyber insurance carrier that hasn't made it mandatory. And the secure email gateway is required probably by 90% of this. I fill out or review cyber insurance questionnaires for our clients probably on a weekly basis. They're getting longer and longer. A few years ago, it was just a few questions, yes or it didn't really matter, yes or no, if the policy was $1 million or below. The larger the policy, or depending on your industry, some of them are taking us hours, and they're actually asking for proof or documentation. They no longer take your word saying MFA yes. Like the last one I did 2 weeks ago, large organization, about 400 people. It said, did you have you implemented MFA for your entire organization? Yes, and then please upload supporting document. So I had to produce a report from Office 365 listing every licensed user with the MFA status on. So it's really gotten to that. Of course, they were asking for like a $4 or $5 million policy, but a secure email gateway is very, it's required. And carriers are listing specific vendors that are approved for secure email gateways as well.
Okay, the next is next generation antivirus. So traditional antivirus approaches have been obsolete as the updates are not as fast enough to react. Next generation antivirus uses a combination of artificial intelligence, behavioral detection, machine learning, and exploit mitigation. So any threats can be anticipated and immediately prevented. Because it is cloud-based, it can be deployed in hours instead of months, and the burden of maintaining software, managing infrastructure, and updating signature databases is eliminated. Maybe, Victor, you can talk a couple of minutes about that.
Sure. Antivirus is no longer, appropriate anymore, because antivirus is really like inoculation shot. It's really, it has to be designed to prevent that attack. So the whole industry has really moved to EDR or next generation. It's kind of like AI, or it's heuristics. So it's really behavior based more than anything else. So if there's abnormal activity, which usually means that is this application file trying to write to sensitive locations on your computer. If it does, it's automatically going to block it. And then some next generation products have the ability to roll back too. So that's becoming important. So if, because it's very hard, these malware infects so quickly, the next generation antivirus may detect it, but it's already infected those files. So a lot of them have rollback features that there's always a copy of the important system files. And if it can't quarantine or block it, it's going to do a rollback and restore it. And that's successful probably 80% of the time.
So here's a big one, is removing local admin rights. So regular web browsing and email phishing put Windows workstations at a constant risk, because endpoints are where many of the greatest risks to enterprise security lie. Giving users control over these endpoints only opens networks risk. So removing these admin rights makes it impossible for malware to be installed even when users make a mistake. So local admin rights must be removed from all users from your network for regular usage. Create a second login for each computer to update software. So that's one of the things that Victor mentioned before, is something critical for this to work, right?
It's standard practice, just create a second account that has administrative privilege that you rarely use unless it's for installing software, removing software. This is part of our standard practice for all our clients now. There are some cases, there's some software out there like AutoCAD that requires full admin rights to run. If that's the case, or SolidWorks is a very popular 3D designing software, then there's other tools that we can use that actually you still have full admin to do all your operations, but if anything tries to write to sensitive files, it's actually going to give us alert, and then someone has to physically whitelist it for it to run. So there are other options as well.
So some additional things to think about are zero trust. This is where no person or device inside or outside of an organization's network should be granted access to connect to IT systems or services until authenticated and continuously verified. So you're really limiting user access only to what's needed for their job function, and dividing a network into segments and limiting user access to specific programs. So only known proven programs will be installed from a list. I know you had a couple of other points, Victor, on this topic.
Well, so zero trust is a relatively new concept. So when I was taking all these certifications years ago, that the mantra or what they taught us was defense in depth, put multiple layers of security. But that thinking has really changed. The new teachings or best practice is zero trust. Here's an example. So printers. Traditionally, you're protected behind a firewall. You think you're pretty safe. But now in this post-pandemic world, right, there's people almost everyone works hybrid, remote. So you're outside the castle. So you really have to treat those remote users as external, users, and make sure that they not only use VPN, which encrypts the network traffic between the servers. They have to have MFA to verify who they are. They have to have constant monitoring to make sure that they don't inadvertently get infected and it goes back to the network. So the concept of zero trust is really the new best practice. It's depending on the size and complexity of the organization, it is fairly hard to implement, right? So we're implementing it here for several clients and at Link High, but zero trust means that nothing is trusted. Like our printers, or traditionally printers are part of the same network as your computers. Well, zero trust, since printers are really effectively computers, they're actually in their own network, right? So we're using software that when we do a print job, it's actually sending the print job to a cloud server back to our network, our local area network, even though the printer's in the same office, right? Segmentation is the other thing. Is you create rings of networks essentially in your office. One big project for a client, about 400 users, distribution. We segment the network. So the 400 users are on one network. They have, for FDA compliance, probably like 125 cameras. Well, we had to put them on a separate network. So the access to the cameras, you're actually looking at the internet. You're going out to the cameras, and then the video is coming back over the internet, right? Because the cameras are really Linux computers, and they're getting infected at a high rate because most people don't update cameras, right? Most vendors don't update cameras. So we segmented the cameras, and the newest thing we're segmenting, and you don't think about it, is payroll time clocks. So we have another large organization, maybe 200 people, multiple shifts. Their payroll company put in a payroll time clock right on the network, didn't even ask us, and it got infected. They actually took down their entire network for like 2 days. We couldn't figure out until we ran multiple scans that this device popped up on the network, verified it was the time clock. Now, all time clocks or anything that's not part of the local area network is on a separate network, and we would open ports or holes to the internet, your payroll provider as necessary, right? So zero trust is really segmenting the network. There's multiple layers, and if they need to talk to each other, then you have to do it in a secure fashion.
So let's go through a couple of other things that that are really important that we see. Additional cybersecurity essentials. One is a proactive employee onboarding and offboarding process. That's essential to reduce security risk. A lot of times companies are not offboarding employees fast enough, and this leaves security gaps to make sure that as soon as that employee's gone, you have their computer, you have everything secured, you have them off the network. So that they're not able to get in after the fact. I mean, there's many stories about employees, disgruntled employees that still have access to your networks after they've been let go. So that's an important one. LinkHigh is very proactive with onboarding and offboarding processes that we help our clients with. That's one of the things that we've been able to really implement across all of our clients.
So we create a tailored onboarding form. It's an online form. It's really tailored to the client. So our largest client has 9 locations or 9 divisions, and each division has separate software. So the form is, the manager or HR fills it out, selects the location. So if you select Dearborn, Michigan, we have a drop down of all the standard software for employees in Dearborn, right? And the standard groups, Office 365 groups that they join, which are the distribution groups, right? And then that's just tailored. So each division has separate applications. They have different distribution groups. And when that person leaves the organization, we use that form to go in reverse to make sure every access, right? Every organization has multiple SaaS applications, right? By SaaS, I mean web-based applications, QuickBooks, Dropbox, Salesforce. So there's, that's why having a checklist is so important. You go backwards when someone leaves the organization. Otherwise, you can shut off all network access, and then there'll be, access to Salesforce will still be open for the next few years by accident. Right. So the onboarding and offboarding is critical for customer satisfaction, but more and more it's a cyber control.
So just a couple of other things that we do. We have infrastructure that allows you to focus on running your business while the number of your employees grows. We seamlessly manage your IT in the background. We have proactive monitoring, threat detection, and remediation to keep your downtime at a minimum. We're very proud of our proactive help desk. We have trained help desk professionals that solve IT problems quickly for you. With a tiered approach, allows quick escalation of more complex problems, and automation of routine tasks lowers your costs, and ability to navigate remote, office, and hybrid environments. Again, our automated processes are really what we're proud of to help scalability and management as your organization grows. We have standardized ways of delivering your software stack to your computers and updating your computers on site, or remotely on your site, that help get you up to speed faster. And the last thing is just to talk about what is cyber insurance. For those who don't have cyber insurance, a dedicated cyber insurance it's different than a rider on your property and casualty insurance policy. It protects your business against losses resulting from a cyber attack. It is also becoming a requirement for many companies to do business. So if you don't have cyber insurance now, you might be required to have it in the future. And there are multi-million-dollar policies that cover equipment, loss of business, and ransom negotiation. Now, most of what we talked about in this presentation is going to be required by these cyber insurance companies for you to receive coverage. And not only that, as Victor is going to explain, some of them actually are going to require, or many of them are going to require, that you have proof that not only do you have these systems and procedures in place, but you're actually following them. And maybe, Victor, you want to talk about the partnership we have with a company and a little bit more about that, and about the upcoming requirements for maintaining your insurance.
Sure. Well, I'm not a cyber insurance expert, but What I found out is a lot of our clients are adding it this year because their biggest clients or the upstream providers are requiring it to do business. So one of our clients is a toy manufacturer. They refused to get cyber insurance for many years. Now, Amazon and Walmart both said if you don't have a policy by 2023 that covers these elements, we won't do business with you, right? So when the two biggest clients tell you you have to get it, you're going to get it. And the reason why is they do such a large scale business that their systems are interconnected. There's no paperwork that, oh, I want to place an order. Everything is automated. When you order from Amazon, it automatically goes into my client's ERP system, picks all the inventory, real-time inventory. They do fulfillment, they'll ship it. So when you order from Amazon from my client, they'll say an Amazon box is really coming from my client's warehouse. And cyber insurance is, I think, the element that we didn't touch upon, and I learned this through the municipality and a couple schools and bigger clients that got hacked. It's not just a remediation. So you get hit ransomware, you're down, but it's all the legal disclosures that are necessary, right? So this school, this municipality had to notify the public, right? Their residents that this happened. There's certain disclosures that the schools had to do because there's a possibility that student information got out, but it didn't, thank God. So the cyber insurance provided a legal team. They provided a PR team that was experienced in their industries. And I got, to sit in these daily meetings for 3 weeks every night. But it's amazing that the cyber insurance carrier provided a team, PR, legal, to do all the necessary disclosures, right? We have a client in California. California has their own privacy law, kind of based like the European GDPR. So there's so many requirements to disclose in case you get hacked that you really need some professional organization to guide you, right? So the insurance is not just a ransom, because lately there's been a couple things. I think the Treasury Department has urged municipalities and government agencies not to pay ransom. Actually, not urged. I think they're prohibiting them to pay unless you can prove it didn't come from nation state like Iran, North Korea. That's nearly impossible to prove. So government agencies probably will no longer be able to pay any ransom, right? And then the other thing is Lloyd's of London, which is a big name. They're a big reinsurer. They touch almost every cyber insurance. Has really, I believe in 2023, said that ransomware, they should be paying for ransomware, that they rather pay for forensics or remediation, right? So when a big reinsurer, again, I'm not an insurance expert, saying that you shouldn't pay for ransomware, or then it kind of trickles down. Cyber insurance will be more for remediation and any legal or PR issues. And then, most of our clients have gone to their insurance broker, and if they don't have personal knowledge, usually the carriers that they rep will have a cyber insurance, arm, so you can have some, experts to go over your policy and all the options, right? If not, you can reach out to us. We do have a relationship with a company called Fifth Wall Solutions. They are a cyber insurance broker only. Link High gets no commissions, no residuals, nothing. And we're not part of the conversation unless you want us to do. So if you want to reach out, they have 30 carriers, so they can give you a quote for all 30. And then what I like is if you have an insurance broker and a personal relationship, you can call Fifth Wall and say, again, I've been using the same broker for 30 years now, handling insurance. So I made sure that she is listed as our agent. So I don't know the arrangement, don't need to, but she's listed as our broker of record for the cyber. So I'm assuming she's getting some sort of commission or residuals on it, but I'm talking to a subject matter expert on the other side. So it's a great relationship. We would just forward to you. The only time we get involved is really if you fill out a questionnaire, we would help you, or you find out that you're deficient, and they're pretty good. If you're very deficient, they rather have you remediate everything before submitting for a quote, right? So if you fill out, you don't have MFA, you don't have a secure email gateway, you don't have a password policy, you really shouldn't apply for cyber insurance. You should implement those first and then go for it. So yeah, if you're interested, reach out to your broker first. If not, I have contacts at Fifth Wall. And again, if you have a personal relationship with your insurance broker, you can bring him or her into the conversation like I did, because I want to make sure after 30 years that handling insurance is, at least part of the conversation with my insurance.